Hi, Gary Cruz with AmazeStudios.com here, and if you're interested in learning more about the Canon CR-N500 4K PTZ camera, then watch this video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this unboxed. I'm going to go take this through an unboxing, and then I'm also going to do a couple tests because this camera has multiple connections. It has HDMI, SDI, NDI HX, and I was really curious about does NDI HX work with NDI Sienna monitor on the Apple TV, or does it work with the Birddog adapter? Or so take a look at the chapter markers below to see those tests if you're interested. What you're watching right now is actually footage from the camera. This is my second camera. I used this for an event and I was pretty happy with it, so I decided to invest in another camera. I've been using these Sony cameras right here, these Sony PXW-z90s, and I still continue to use them. They're also a 1-inch sensor. The Canon matches very well with the Sony cameras because it also has a 1-inch sensor. Alright, starting with the unboxing, we've got a power adapter. It is a 24 volt 1.8 amp 43.2 watt power adapter. Documentation comes with the infrared remote. This is a mount along with a safety cable, 2 AAA batteries for the remote. It's pretty basic packaging. I also have this connected to a Skaarhov PTZ controller. I forget which model it was, but I'll put it in the description below. I've used that for an event, and it'll be able to control multiple cameras. It looks like up to 7 based on the LCD. It's probably a little bit more. I will never have 7 cameras, so the most I'll have is probably 3. Okay, so we've got a LAN port. We've got a USB port, a micro SD port or a slot, HDMI, 3G SDI out, and Genlock, and these 2 XLR inputs. We've got a mic input, a RS422, a 24 volt power, but if you use PoE, you don't have to do that. Now, speaking of PoE, I think it's PoE Plus. PoE that I use is this Ubiquiti switch. And I also use this this inexpensive TP-Link. Those both power this very well, so you don't need to use this power adapter. And also the other benefit is that the NDI that goes over this, you just need just 1 cable. That helps with setting up and breaking down on events, and it reduces the amount of cables that have to be strung across. The only disadvantage is that there is a little bit of latency compared to both the HDMI and the SDI, which is these 2 are real time, and there is a little delay here, and we'll show you that in a bit. Alright, let's go ahead and get it plugged in and show you how to set it up. Alright, so the first things first is, let me go ahead and use this inexpensive Ethernet cable. We'll go ahead and get that plugged in, and I'll plug that into this TP-Link PoE switch. Alright, so it's going through its initialization. There we go. And it's been initialized. Let's go ahead and switch over to figure out what the IP address is. So let me go ahead and share my desktop. Since I got everything plugged into a separate router in my Atem rack, I've got a separate network just for everything that's related to my live stream, and I'm not picking up my entire home network. So let's switch over to my app that I use to kind of scan the network. So I use this app called LANScan, and I also have a access point which is connected to that same router, and you can see that my IP address starts with 192.168.1.1, which is my Ubiquiti router. If I go and do a LAN scan here, and it looks like I have another camera, which is 192.168.1.249. I have an HDMI cable here and a capture card that I use And I can plug this directly into my laptop so I can capture the output that will be coming in via this camera. Alright, so let's go ahead and switch over to that. So the first thing you'll see is this initial settings are required. This threw me off. So what I did is, what you need to do is actually set a username and password. So let's go ahead and set a username and password, and in order to do that you have to connect to it. So let's switch over here and I'll go to LAN scan, and then once you get the IP address of your Canon camera, let's go ahead and connect to it. And right here you can see that the default settings say enter administrator name and password. This enables the administrator to configure cameras. Now Canon, I wish you guys would put some sort of default password, because this threw me off initially because I wasn't sure how to connect to it. And also the other thing would be nice is that when you turn on the camera over the HDMI, let me switch over here, it would be nice that on the HDMI it would show the IP address so I know how to connect to it. That should be really simple to put onto the firmware, so hopefully a firmware update will be able to fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a username and password. Now that I've got the password set, let's go ahead and log in. I'll save this, and here are the initial settings. And if I switch back over to the camera, hopefully it will show it. So let's go back over here, and voila, it is showing. So once you create a login, there we go, you'll be able to see the output of the camera. There we go. Let's see if we can see both. Latency is pretty good. Okay. All right. Now let's just go through the initial settings. And let me hide my camera here. Let's turn off so you can see everything related to this. Okay, so the default settings, we've got the frequency at 59. Here are the options from 23.98 all the way to PAL. I'll keep it at 59.94 because that's what my other cameras are set at. You can do manual or auto DHCP. I'll leave it on auto. I might switch it to manual later on since I've got a, but I'll do that through the router hopefully. And let's go ahead and synchronize with the NTP server. And let's do ntp.pool.com. Let's see if that works. Let's see. .org. .org. And let's do, I'm at Pacific -8. And let's apply. Okay, now we're in the camera, and here we go, here I am. Here's another thing too, so this is on a Mac and Safari, and typically Safari is not very well supported, but you can see that I can control this all through the web browser. Okay, so let's start with some of the initial options here. We can see that, let me go back here and make sure that I'm recording. Okay, I'm on eCamm Live. Oh, just to give you an idea. It's going to be a little slower via the web browser, which is expected. All right, let's go through the settings. We've got an ND filter, so we can do 1/4, 1/16, and 1/64. And you can see it's compensating. Let's go ahead and turn those off. And then you can see the gain adjust accordingly. I can set this on program. And for example, this looks a little bit overexposed. So if I wanted to turn this down a little bit, I can go ahead and adjust this accordingly. Let's go to the color. We've got auto white balance, daylight, tungsten, color. I can dial that in. That looks good. Or manual. And setting A, it looks like there's, let's do this, white balance calibration. And then set B. So I can kind of go through those saved settings, or I can switch it to auto white balance. And you can see that there's this white balance R gain. Let's go to, oh, okay. Keep that at 0. And then there's, oh, red. That makes sense. And then we've got blue. On the side of blue. I wonder if I could type that in. Can we make that 0? Nope. Let's put that to 0. The response, low, high. I'll just keep it on medium, normal. Color matrix gain. Color matrix gain. Gonna go. Okay. So from red and green, I don't mess with these, so I'm just showing you just so that you know what it looks like. Same with this one, from red to blue, and then green to red. Oh look, I'm like the Hulk. Okay. Back to 0, because it's really hard to control via the mouse. Matrix phase. Okay, you know what? None of this really pertains to me. You can read the manual. All right, let's go to image quality. 2020 709. We got Canon log and Canon log 3 709, and then you can set the gamma accordingly. Normal, wide dynamic range. Let's just do normal. Okay. And then neutral, and then you got different gamuts. You can adjust the sharpness. Let's see what happens at 50. Ooh, super sharp. Black, master pedestal, red, blue, gamma level. Wow, there's just a lot of options here. Okay, focus. Ooh, this is kind of cool. So this is one of the reasons why I went with the 500 series, is because it's this really fast focus mode, because it is it's got face detection. I can do face only. I wonder if it'll track this as a face. No, don't have eyes. No eyes. Okay, so auto frame, big and small. Just do auto. Continuous. Oh, what's this camera? Oh, here's another thing this is pretty cool. On the PTZ, so you have digital zoom. I don't use that. The pan and tilt acceleration. Okay, so if I do, right now it's on median, so pan and tilt. So this is pan. It's pretty fast. Let's do small. Oh, so it kind of gradually jumps in. So if I do big, if I click this, or robotic, small, and then this is image stabilizer. That's off. And then let's turn it on standard. So I'll shake this a bit. And let's do powered IS. That's not bad. Just keep on standard. Presets. Alright, so if I go this, click on view, it's going to take it home. Oh, I see. So let's say if I want to say that's me, I'll go over here and let's click add and we'll do Gary. And this is pan, tilt, zoom, and focus. If you save the camera settings, it'll also adjust the exposure. So here's another reason why I like this camera. It's because you're gonna do the, I'll just show you. So let's go to here and click on view. Okay, but now let's say I want to take 13 seconds to go to Gary. And you can make that really slow. It can go even slower, okay? Speed level, same thing, right? So if I go to 1 and we go to home and view that, it is super slow. It's like micro movement. So if I up this up a bit and then click on view, it's faster. Okay. Oh, one of the things then is let's just do the zoom again. So let's switch over here and let's click on home. And that's what it looks like. I'll stop that. I'll go back here. And it's really smooth. Alright, let's switch over. We've got system. Let's switch over to this view. Here are the options. You'll notice that there is no 4K. Let's go ahead and there is 4K on this camera. However, we need to switch the frame rate from 59.94 because it doesn't support that. If we go to, let's see, system, camera, oh, where was it? Environment, here we go. If we switch this to 29.97, apply and reboot, let's just go ahead and do that. All right, it's rebooted. It's initializing. Okay. Wait, let's go back over here and just point it back at me. There we go. And then let's go over to system, I think it was system, video and audio, HDMI, SDI. Now you can see that I can output the video at 4K at 29.97. IP streaming video. So we've got two options, H.264, H.265. And since we do have 4K, that shows up. When it's at 59.97, you will not see the 4K option. And then you're also limited to 29.97 for the frame rates. Let's check with this as well. Okay. You got constant bit rate or variable bit rate. This is for the mainstream, and then you have the substream. I use NDI, so let's just check that out. Before we do that, we can enable the microphone. This works. I tested it. So if we plug into the back of the microphone, it'll be sent with the video in sync, and you'll see these moving up and down as you hook up a microphone. And then we have a web server and a video server, and this is where you can do NDI, and we'll test that. I'm sorry, this is your network. You can see your maximum packet size, DHCP, IPv6 if you use DNS, and your MDNS. We don't have wireless LAN. Let's see, does this have a wireless connection? I wonder if it'll send NDI over wireless. I'm curious. Or oh, this is creating access point. If I'm using wireless and select this, I don't see a enable. I don't see a way to select it. Okay, I'll look into that later. External IP. We'll keep this at the specified port number because that's what the PTZ controller uses. Here's where we enable NDI HX. Alright, so enable, we want an audio, we're not going to do discovery, we're not going to do multicast, and we're not going to do group settings, and we're not going to do RTMP. So let's click on apply. I'm going to switch it back over to the other frame rate. Let's do that. I'll be right back. Alright, so I just realized that on eCamm I had two microphones on, which is my Mac and my lavalier mic, so I apologize for the audio, but I don't have time to mess around and re-record this. I noticed that this is also getting pretty long, and the reason for that is because this is an expensive camera at $5,500. I bought this camera with my own money, with the gigs that I do. It's not a sponsored video, and if you're going to be spending this much money, hopefully you're going to be doing the amount of research that you're doing. I bought this with the hopes that all this stuff I can figure out later, and I'm trying to do this to help those who are trying to make the decision if this is the right camera for you. So I'm going to show also some B-roll footage of some of the events that I've done with it to show you some examples. That's why I put the chapters in the description below. Alright, let's continue on. We were at an IP streaming video. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is what's weird. We've got IP streaming video, which I don't use. I'm using under external IP. I'm using NDI HX. So NDI HX is the lower bitrate version of NDI. So full NDI is what you get with the Birddog, and with NDI HX, it's a little lower bitrate, but it does have a little bit of latency. And I'll show you that in a bit. And then I don't use an external serial port. Under security, this is just like the web management for the web browser and everything with the secure sockets layer, user management. Here's where you can change your password. You can add additional authorized users. If they're going to be an authorized user or guest user, you can put in some restrictions. Under the system, let's call this Canon 2. Apply, because I want that to show up. We can flip this, so let's go ahead and flip this and see what that looks like. No, I don't. Let's disable. Okay, tally lamp, enable. And date and time is correct. We did that syncing over to the ntp.pool.org, and it synced up automatically. And we got the time, and it's synced up with my Mac time. Looks like it's pretty close. We've selected this environment. These are the two languages available. And then here is additional information. We've got the model number, the firmware version, etc. So that covers everything with the web interface to the Canon. Now, let's get this set up. Let me switch over to the other camera. We can see that HDMI works over the USB capture card fine, but let's say if you want to use NDI, let's try that out. So one of the things I'm using is an NDI card by Magewell. It's the Pro Convert series. And let's take a look at what that looks like. So if we switch over to the NDI, okay, so if we click on menu, and let's switch over to select the camera. Oh, where is the camera? Alright, so I'm troubleshooting this right now. I'm not sure why that camera is not showing up here. Let's go to the Pro Convert and click on Source. Oh, there it is. Select. So that's how we got NDI. Alright, here we go. Alright, so let's go back to Super Source. And if I click on Settings here, oh, let's do this. There it is. Canon 2. And then if I want to switch to the other camera, oh, here's what's really cool is this controller here. If we go to PTZ controls and let's say I want to move left a little bit, I can move left and I can move right. This is just another benefit of this Pro Convert, is that it has a lot of options here. Well worth it. And switch back to the camera here, and there we go. Alright, so let me just remove this. I want to show you the latency between the NDI and HDMI. So I'm going to switch over to, I'm going to go to my Super Source. So on my left, I can't tell. I think I just added the USB video. So the HDMI, I believe, is on the right. Let's do this. Okay, so you're on the right is the HDMI, and on the left is the NDI. Okay, so that's the latency test of the NDI versus direct to HDMI via an HDMI capture card. Okay, so we tested the connection of the Canon to the Pro Convert NDI to HDMI capture card. You saw a little bit of latency there. Now let's see if it works with the Birddog. Log in, and then let's go to System, and we've got, oh sorry, we're going to go to AV. We've got NDI source, and let's see, come on. Oh, okay, so we refresh this, and I don't see Canon here. All right, let's see if the Birddog shows up. So Birddog would be on, Birddog is Flex, and it's black. I don't know why. But if we'll try Canon 2 and apply, and for some reason I can't get NDI HX from either of these Canons into this. But if we go onto Birddog 1, which is my Sony camera, it works. Let's go over here to this camera setting because now I'm confused. Let's go to System, Apply, and then we'll go over here and we'll go to System, okay. Let's refresh this. There it is. Canon 1 and Canon 2. But if we look at the Birddog and refresh this, and we select on Canon, it doesn't show up. And we do Canon 2, apply. And so it does not work with the Birddog. But the Birddog works with Birddog, which is full HDMI, or full NDI. So the Birddog Flex 4K does not work with NDI HX. Not sure why. Let's see if we can get it working with the eCamm. And I think the main reason is because I am on the Wi-Fi right now. In order to get this to work, I probably have to stop eCamm Live and turn it back on so it shows up in my sources. And I don't want to do that right now. So we tested the Pro Convert, we tested the Birddog, and we tested the latency. So you can see that there's a little bit of latency with the HDMI HX, not that much. I used it for an event and no one complained. It was perfectly fine. And I just used one cable. So it's not a full 360, it's almost a full 360 because it stops slightly before. And let's zoom in. And that's the other camera that you've been watching. So that's the other camera. Now it's nice to have a paired camera. Let's do a comparison of low light. Let's go ahead and switch to Atem here. Oh, this is the full screen. Alexa, turn off dining.
Okay.
Here's an example of low light. If you want to compare that with the Sony, let's turn one of these Sonys over there. Okay, so the Sony is on the left and the Canon PTZ is on the right. You can see that the gain is a little bit higher, so let's switch over. Let's go over here and we'll switch over to the exposure. Go to program and try to match it a little bit here. Let's see. Let's switch this to manual and turn off the auto gain. I wish it would show this not in dB but in ISO, but it doesn't because I'm a photographer also, so I know ISO better. Let's zoom in a little bit. And the iris stays at looks like f4. All right, so that's the, oh wow, the Canon looks a little bit sharper on the right and the Sony is on the left. Very interesting. I would say that the Canon looks a little bit better, but I'll leave it up to you. If you take a look at the word Sackler on the bottom, you can see a difference, and also the 4K. All right, now let's see if we can get this thing connected to the Skaarhov. It took me a while to figure out, so let's actually switch over to my desktop here, and let's go with the Canon HDMI, and I'm going to open the Skaarhov updater, and I need to actually hook up a cable. So the first thing you'll notice is that there is a select device and there's no device to select, and you need to connect a micro USB cable to it. And since Macs don't have micro USB, I'm using this built-in Thunderbolt to USB adapter. I'm going to plug that in right over here. Okay, so now we've got it connected and we've got to do a configuration. do that, and we'll do, let's try the local configuration. Okay, so camera 2, it is a camera select, and camera 2, how do I add another camera here? Okay, I don't like that interface, so let's do online configuration. How do I add a second camera? Okay, maybe. Okay, so I've got 2 Canons. Your controller configuration needs to be saved before it's completed. Please go to controller configuration and save it. Okay. Where's my other Canon? Oh, here we go. Oh, wait a minute. So I can add a camera here. I don't need 2 cores. So let's actually remove that core. How do we do that? Device cores. Let's remove this second one here. Save settings. And then let's go to controller configuration. And we're going to add a camera, which is camera 2. And if we go to my land scan here, it's 249. We've got 233 for this Canon, and we got 249 for that one. So I'm just going to copy that and make that 249. Okay, so we've got 2 cameras, 233, 249. Go back to land scan, 233, 249. Okay. Now, how do I save this? Save settings. Saved configuration. Okay. I want to make this Canon. I want to make that Canon 2, Cam 2. And that's Cam 1. Okay. So Cam 1, Cam 2. And this, I don't quite fully understand this, but it sounds like it generates a custom firmware based off the settings that you've just saved here, and it sends that, it downloads it from the server, sends it over the USB cable into the device. Sounds very programmatic to me, but let's go ahead and generate that and see how that works out. Alright, so if I go back over here, and now if I click on update configuration firmware, it's going to request it from the server. And so that's the other con about this controller, is that you need to have an internet connection. So you got to make sure all this works before you go to a remote setting, because it's going to be really difficult trying to configure all this, you know, if you're on site. But overall, I've been pretty happy with the Skaarhov. I say that I'm fairly technical, but it took me a while to figure out. It is a lot more complicated than it needs to be, but I think it gives you a lot more options that I'm barely touching for this device. So now it's writing over to it. Okay, so let's just wait for that to write. And let me go back here and save. Let's show you what it looks like here. Okay, I think it's update. Oh, it's highlighted. So we've got camera 1, and then let's select camera 2 here. And let's move this. And it works. Very nice. That's not too bad. Here's another thing that I think is pretty cool. They showed on their website, basically when you kind of start to move this. What's going on now? It's just stopped working. Oh, because it went all the way. So you see how it's counting down? Now it's kind of doing some sort of auto cruise control. It's pretty cool. And it does that until it counts down up to 7 seconds. I'll do a separate review for this and a different video because this video is getting really too long. Alright, so we've got that connected to the Skaarhov. We've got 2 cameras set up. We tested the NDI HX. We tested it on the Birddog. It didn't work. Oh, let's just check the Apple TV. So if we switch to the Apple TV, on the Apple TV we have an app called Sienna Monitor. Let's try one of the Canon cameras. And you can see it does not work. Let's try the other one. And it doesn't. So these 2 Canon cameras are NDI HX, but if we select the Birddog, it works. Go figure. Alright, let's switch back over here. Okay. This video was pretty long. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did, put some questions in the comments below because this is an expensive camera, but to me it's been worth it. I've been using my Sony PXW-z90 cameras with a Ronin DJI RSC2. That's the Teradek, which is feeding this converter, and then the converter is feeding the Raven Eye with HDMI, and therefore Raven Eye can then control the gimbal. I'm trying to do this one hand. So if I highlight myself and I start moving around, the gimbal will follow me. So this will be great for like one-man shows, and you need a camera operator to kind of follow you along, and it will track you accordingly. It's pretty good. I've been doing that wirelessly. I wanted a little bit more control with the wired connection and having power at the same time and using the PTZ controller. So now I have multiple options. I've got the wireless with the Sony camera with the Ronin. I can have someone roaming around, and I have the earpiece to with the ear tags to direct them where to go, and then I can use this multiple PTZ camera controller by Skaarhov to control the other 2 cameras. So I've got a lot of flexible options here. The thing is that these cameras are expensive, but is it worth it to you? Got the low light, got the fast autofocus, got the 4K capability for upgradability. It's going to be up to you based off what you saw here. Hopefully this comprehensive overview, it's not necessarily a review, but I'll put in some B footage of some of the events that I've done. You can make a decision if this camera is right for you. You'll notice one thing that I didn't get to show you is that there's tally lights here, and when eCamm selects this via NDI, it turns on the tally light, which is really cool. So eCamm supports NDI natively. If you're not familiar with eCamm, definitely check it out with the link in the description below. It's for Macs. And another tip that I figured out is that I've got the latest 14-inch Mac Pro Max with the 32 cores. You don't need that much power to stream with eCamm. I use the MacBook Air, and the battery lasts a lot longer with the M1 processor versus the M1 Max. So just as a pro tip, just because this is a little bit bigger and thicker, it definitely uses more power than the M1 Air. You can save a lot of money if you're just going to be using that for streaming. However, I edit a lot in Final Cut Pro, wanted to take advantage of the additional processing power. Alright, this is the end of the video. I'm going to end it now. If this is something that you liked, hit like on the way out, and thanks for watching.